facilitator for the day and our three facilitators who will be working in the breakout sessions. So I can see Marion has started the recording. Tarek, over to you.
Thanks so much, John. Hi, folks. I'll keep it very brief because we've got a hell of a lot of stuff to get through. Lovely to see you all. Thanks so much for joining this third call in this series focused on the open data system we want to create as part of the Evidence Synthesis Infrastructure Collaborative. Focus today is on how we get to where we want to be. And hopefully you'll have seen from the very well organized set of background materials all of the context we need for the discussions we're about to go into. But I'll stop there. There's lots to do. So back to you, John, and looking forward to getting stuck in.
Super. Thank you very much, Tarek. So as you'll have seen with the agenda, the plan is 2 breakout sessions, and the relevant documents are sitting in the calendar entry. And it's important that if you haven't already read them, you pull them up and be prepared for the breakout session. Everybody will be looking at the same document, the use cases in the first session, but your facilitator will direct your attention to 2 use cases in particular. Then for the second session, you'll have a choice of which topic you focus on. So you'll only need to look at the one corresponding document. One of them is extremely short, readable in 1 minute. The other 2 are a bit longer. So if you're not teed up ready to go, please go to the calendar entry, make sure that you find the relevant document. So our lead facilitator, we're very lucky to have Chris Collison here. Some of you will know him in his many roles, but one is as the major force behind the Multi-Donor Learning Partnership for Development Impact. He's a knowledge management guru among many other forms of guruship, and he graciously offered to help us out today. We have 3 facilitators who will be working with you in the breakout sessions. Carlos Juarez-Weiser, the Chief Executive of Cochrane, Lawrence Malanza-Langer, who is the head of PACE, the Pan-African Collective for Evidence, and Rona Majumbi Debe, who wears a number of hats, but one of which is head of ACRES, the Center for Rapid Reviews based in Uganda. So without further ado, Chris, and I should say that our hope is to get you into the breakout sessions quite quickly, to give you until 25 minutes past the hour. We'll then come back into plenary, and Chris will work with the facilitators to hear some highlights from the session. Then we hope to be back in breakout sessions by around 8:32, then back again into plenary around 8:45. So a longer first breakout session, slightly shorter second. And as always, apologies, very hard to pick a date and time for our American friends. This is Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us on a holiday. For our Australian colleagues, this is extremely late at night. So apologies for those of you for whom this is a very inconvenient day or time. Chris, over to you.
Thanks very much, John, and thank you for the glowing introduction. I should hire you to do more of those for me, for sure. But thank you, and thank you for inviting me to join this group. I feel I'm very late to the party, but that's okay. I'll be listening in to the party today a little bit. So what we've tried to do is to mirror as much as we can what would it be like if we had the luxury of being together physically in the same space, and we had flip charts and things around the room that we could be working around and gathering around. And we have a digital space, which I'm going to give you the link to in a moment. I'll share my screen now so you can see what it will look like, where we have our two walls, if you like. The top wall, the brick wall, will relate to our first set of discussions around the use cases, and then the second wall, the concrete wall, relates to the other topics that we're covering. So in a moment, you'll be allocated to a breakout group, and your facilitator of that group will be with you, and you're going to look for, as you will also enter in parallel to Teams, you'll have a browser open and you'll be looking at what I'm looking at now and what I'm sharing with you, and basically find your space on the wall. You'll be in group 1, group 2, or group 3, and just have that on your screen. And at each of these areas, there's a space where you can just click in the sticky notes and type away if you want to add comments, or if you're on a device that makes that difficult, if you're on a tablet or a phone listening in for some reason, then use the chat or just verbalize your comment and somebody will do that for you. In the session, the first session where we're looking at use cases, it will be helpful in your responses, particularly around the areas that you found most helpful in illustrating the scale of the data transformation. If you can start your response with, if you're looking at use case number 2, then start it with 2. Let me zoom in a bit more here so you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Just so that we can very quickly sort the sticky notes later on. So if you can remember to do that, your facilitators will remind you as well, but that'll be really helpful. You can just pinch to zoom in and out if you want to move around, and at the end of 20 minutes I will then grab everybody together and we'll go through the flip charts, each one, and the facilitator will just highlight 1 or 2 from each one. It's a quick sense of feedback. Of course, you have the luxury of looking back after the session if you want to see what others have written, and then we'll repeat the same sort of process for the second half. Now, that's the principle. If you get lost, just shout, but you should be okay. So I'm going to put the joining link into the chat now. Please bear in mind, you don't need to log in. It will give you the option to log in. You don't need to log in. Just go in as a visitor, which is the lowest link, and it will allocate you some kind of random animal. You'll join as an anonymous hippo or something like that, and it just gives you access to the shared space. Obviously, within the teams, you'll have your personality and your voice as well. This is purely to give you a space to write. So if you click on the link and join, hopefully we'll begin to see. I'm just going to keep sharing my screen actually so we can see each other joining. There we go. So yeah, we've got all sorts of animals, a whole Noah's Ark going on here, and you can begin to see yourselves appearing. So in a moment, you'll be just gathering on the appropriate space. Your facilitator will check in with you and say, you know, are you in group, the one where it says group 2 and standing by the Christmas tree, for example. So we should have everybody there looking at the right areas. That's our environment. I hope that is working okay for you. If you can't see it for some technical reason, obviously you're in the conversation. You can still make contributions, and your facilitator or some other generous person will write up what you're saying. So don't worry too much if this technology is freaking you out a bit. This isn't the only way you can contribute. So I think that's it in terms of just giving you orientation. There's going to be a 20-minute session in a moment when you're all allocated to the teams groups, and you're looking, you know, at this question around the user stories. So you're capturing on the green flip charts. What is it in the user stories which has helped you understand the scale of the data transformation ahead? And then on the red side, you're capturing what is it that you still don't understand about this transformation in how we share and we use data. And your facilitator will guide you through that process and help you begin to capture things. So I'm hoping that's okay. Right, thumbs up from John. So if I can ask Marion now to send you out to your groups. I'll do a little ticker tape parade as we get closer to our 20 minutes so you know that you're about to be brought back into the room as well. So over to you, Marion, to put people where they belong. Oh no, here they come.
I'll be moved back now.
Wow, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was fun. Group 3, I don't know what you've been drinking this morning, but we just ran out of sticky notes in a big way. So let's keep ourselves on time. So what I'm going to do now is just take us around each of the boards. I'm going to be rude to you, and I'm going to kind of grab you all together as a group and summon you to one particular place. So let me just do that a second. There we go, summon everybody. Here we go, and we'll line ourselves up in front of group 1. And Carla, I think you were facilitating group 1. If you'd like to choose, really, I think probably one of each, I think was the guidance, because if you can choose the most kind of dominant or significant comment on the green side and the red side.
Yes, just bear with me a minute. I'm just trying to increase the size. Okay. So for group 1, we chose story 1 and story 6. On story 1, there was a good comment about ecosystem ready, room for flexibility to adopt to challenge, inclusive of methods and process, as a positive thing to understand. And I'm taking something from the story 6, in terms of that needs more understanding is what is the business model that ensures sustainability of data reuse without increasing inequity.
Very good. Okay. I'm going to keep us moving just in the interest of knowing how much we have to achieve today. So we'll move along our little group to group 2. And Lawrence, I think you're facilitating this one for us, aren't you? What were the 2 comments you'd like to feedback?
Yeah, we had lots of fun by the Christmas tree. We're still talking, I'm afraid, when we got back. So there might be some additional inputs, but a quick synthesis, I think, on the what's maybe still not 100% clear side, echoing what Carla just mentioned around the business models, so strong questions about how do you resource that, and the rest is probably a bit more operational nitty-gritty. So it's like, how exactly does it work if you want to do data enhancement, you want to show metadata across? So that's just an example of the flavor. So it felt that what's not clear as of now, which probably is understandable, is the nitty-gritty of how to do it. On the kind of the light bulb moments, so we had heard quite a few, and I would kind of summarize that around the potential and opportunities that enhancing data, contextualizing data, and reusing data brings. And particularly where we live in a world where suddenly we had a lot of intermediaries in this group, as you can see from use case 2 and 1 that dominated. If suddenly we start to contribute data back after we've provided our rapid responses, our evidence brief to government and other decision makers, how that starts to create a bit of a flywheel, how we can then continue to build on that. It's much easier for the next rapid response, and with the potential that one could then be rewarded for the contribution of that data. So that feels like something that reuse, resharing, that is probably one of the biggest opportunities that came across there. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Lawrence. That's really really helpful summary there. Okay, let's just take the group along to group 3, which Rona, you were saying you had major post-it sticky note abuse going on here.
Lots of things that we still want to understand. So you will see that we flooded, you with all of that. But very quickly on what has helped, us understand the scale of things is just, it just seems that the more detailed, the more real, something is made, real life examples, plausible scenarios. I think that's really helpful for people to really understand, the scale of things. But there's still quite a number of questions that we have. And some of them generated quite a bit of conversation. And I think the last one that we were talking about is what I'll highlight, which one of us thought that evidence actually shows that evidence communities or the evidence community does not like using someone else's data, which is basically, an underpinning of what we're trying to do, that we're trying to bring this together. But I think, a number of issues were then coming out, and these were how much do we trust, the data, but also the data might have been collected to answer another question, and how do we work out that this actually is fit for the kind of purpose that we are trying to fit it into. Data is usually driven by a specific question, and we will be coming again, with other questions, but thinking about also quality gates and whether data is actually reusable. Should it be usable? Being able to use it is one thing, but also some of the legalistic and the legal issues and ethics issues that might underpin whether it should be, used again, are things that still need to be sort of worked out. I think there was quite a bit going into that particular question and that particular conversation.
Excellent. Thank you, Rona. Well, that's great work. So now we've proved that we can do this. So we're going to move ourselves down to the second part of our meeting, where we have 3 documents to comment on. So slightly different in terms of our format. I'm just sharing it on the screen here. So in terms of rather than just recording the comment or the edit on the sticky note, just drag it onto the document. If you have an addition, drag it onto the relevant part. So you're clicking and dragging. I hope that's not too much. And if you want to edit it again, just move it to the part you want to edit and type your correction. So that's the plan. So I think you probably know from the agenda what the 3 documents are, but just to recap, if you join group 1, you'll be looking at the Open Data System Capabilities document and adding your thoughts and comments and additions and deletions to that one. If you join group 2, you'll be doing the compare and contrast between centralized versus federated data, but also there'll be a third conversation there about third options that have features of both, which I think Brian is going to speak to in that group. And then finally, if you are in group 3, you'll be looking at the wider topic of external support that's needed. And again, in each time, you'll have a facilitator working with you to explain it better than I have. So that's probably enough for me to say and share. I think this is where people volunteer for groups, Marion, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. You can choose your room.
Choose your room. Very good. So sorry to drag you away from your groups. We're just trying to keep as much to time as we possibly can. One of the beauties of working with virtual flip charts and virtual meeting rooms is that nobody comes and tidies it away. So if you want to add things to the board after hours, it'll still be there. So feel free to do that. But don't delete other stuff though. So let's do what we did before. I will gather you all together and we'll go around the group. Now, conscious that some of these discussions have been slightly longer or more nuanced, so I'm relying on the group facilitators to pick just kind of a highlight or maybe one of the more controversial or parts of the things that attracted the most conversation. Perhaps you won't be able to summarize everything, and obviously we can go away and read it later. But if I can, let me just gather you around first of all. Here we go. So if I can ask Carla to just give us a highlight or two from your group 1.
I'm not group 1 here. There was a confusion. I went there, but it was not my group 3.
so Carla, you're group 3. Okay, we'll as we've got you, we'll start with group 3. There we go.
All right. So I think there was quite an interesting discussion about if the topics were the topics are relevant, but maybe we need a little bit more of detail. The map data initiatives aligned with the initiative to foster collaboration and avoid duplications. Some discussion about the understanding better what we mean by governance. And there was some questions about maybe we should create a group with data, need an idiot's guide for how to upload it. So, and some kind of clarification, not sure there are main expectations that is being revenue raising, such that we need to distribute and retain for investment. So there is some kind of clarification asking for. And the one final thing to say is that some members of the group have actually said that they think that this is all important and there is a bit of a challenge of how we prioritize the type of support that we need. This was a discussion about what kind of support we need, and you can go back there and see the list of support if you want to add something. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carla. So let's move across then to group 2. I'm going to take a 50-50 chance and guess it might be Lawrence facilitating this one.
It is indeed, yes. So back to the Christmas tree. Again, we were still typing when we had to be called back. So it's really nice to see the engagement throughout and the contribution. So thanks a lot. I have to do something very controversial in this context. Probably I have to do a bit of a vote count, which for this group is probably not a safe space to do synthesis. We had tried to cluster them and couldn't keep up, but the options that came out, most sticky notes had support and insights on was on a federated repository. And then the third option, which is my main highlight I come to just now, that being the centralized index. So those got lots of traction in kind of the inputs. So if you wanted to do a vote count, that comes on top. I do think there was a number of really good questions, and some of this just needs more detail to be able to input and make a firm choice. And I parked those on the top left. So I think some very valid questions, and it does show the risk of vote counting, of course. For me, the most encouraging part is that we actually had a presentation by Brian on what would be a third option in between centralization and federation, which he calls a centralized index. I won't speak to the techie bits. There's a briefing document around it that will be shared afterwards. But it shows, I think, how we've moved, particularly from throughout these 3 calls, how the different views and different approaches are coming together and converging, so that we're talking now about 3 options instead of 2 options. That in its own right, I think, is a really, really nice outcome of this session. So yeah, that's a very quick summary from my side, Chris.
Lovely. Thank you, Lawrence. And finally, Rona, just a couple of highlights in no more than a minute, please, from group number 1.
Yes, so we didn't really have a conversation per se. I sort of got lost in different groups before I got here, so we lost our time. But I will highlight that, you know, there were just 2 capabilities that we thought maybe don't really need to be on this list. You know, for example, the capability for registering protocols for different types of questions, you know, that's something probably that we shouldn't be worrying about too much. But for the others, we did, you know, highlight a few things that need to be clarified. For instance, when we say we need a capability around supporting capacity sharing that's related to open data systems and usage, what do we mean by what do we mean by capacity sharing? You know, so having a collective understanding, and also highlighting the fact that, you know, when we talk about applications that serve up actionable insights for different groups, you know, somebody says, is this a capability or linking to existing translations and brokerage? So for the capabilities that are there, you know, we think they're good, but there needs to be some clarity on a number of issues that would make it, you know, collective understanding for the whole network.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So that leaves, I think, us just 5 minutes exactly for a wrap up on next steps. So I shall stop sharing my screen and hand back to John.
Great. Thank you very much. And Tarek has lost internet connection. He may be able to rejoin us, but he's having trouble getting back in. So I just want to draw your attention to the proposed next step. I think, having heard a lot of discussion from people who really understand the tech side of the centralized versus federated conversation that we've been having, that perhaps needs to come later after some broader principles are articulated by the community. So I think I'll jump then to steps 2 and 3 as being the absolutely critical time-sensitive ones that are the proposed immediate next steps. So one is that the Wellcome Trust, with the input now of the new ESIC steering group, the 6-member steering group, to make a decision about how it will support Global South co-leadership to deliver on the remaining open data system capabilities. So we've said this a few times in the sessions, through a variety of pre-run peer review processes, through open calls. A team that has kind of tentacles into multiple projects has brought together what amounts to a total of £10 million with a commitment to continuing to build out an open source data system. And that open source piece is absolutely essential. That is happening no matter what. And it's a tremendous opportunity, we think, to then ask the question, how do we then bring to the fore all of the other system capabilities that are in the final column of that document that Group 1 was looking through. So the steering group, the Wellcome Trust, will be making that decision about how to support global health leadership to deliver on those remaining capabilities. The second piece that seems very time sensitive is to commission that external support, to bring the legal experts, the open data experts, and so on, to a table with a small group of key data owners that are representative of the very different constituencies that have skin in the game, to develop a proposal that can be shared publicly for discussion. So this would be a small working group working with the direct support of a bunch of external advisors, working through these very difficult issues around governance, around business models, and so on, and trying to come up with a workable proposition that could work for everybody, that would then be brought out to all of you for broader discussion and ongoing conversation about how it evolves over time. So those seem to be the 2 key next steps. The other pieces that you'll see here are Once those have happened, very critical to then have meetings with representatives of each of you who have been involved in this process to talk about, could this work for you? Are there ways that you would be willing to contribute, to benefit from, to complement what is being proposed here? And then through this process, we'll get back at some point to question 1 about what form the data repository takes. So those are the proposed next steps. I don't know if Tarek has rejoined us or if Isabel wants to say anything else. Is Tarek there? Isabel, did you want to say anything? Otherwise, I'll move into some final wrap-up comments.
I won't say anything too lengthy, but just thank you so much for everyone for contributing. I know this has been a challenging process, but we really appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts honestly. And yeah, we're committed to making this a success, whatever it looks like in the end. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Isabel. So let me just conclude by saying this collective impact work is incredibly hard, and I know it's also very stressful. We were on a call earlier in the meeting where Tarek said something that I found really helpful. We're all currently in an equilibrium, and we all have our projects that we're very excited about. And what we're trying to do together is to using a collective impact approach, create a new equilibrium. And that's a very scary proposition because we're very attached to our current ways of doing things, and we don't know how those things that are very close to us, how they will evolve over time, how they will become part of this new equilibrium, whether they will change over time and so on. But my hope is that we can continue to work together. It is incredibly tough work. We've heard from a number of you that, this process is hard to wrap your head around. It's uncertain where things are going. It can be very stressful, but we are trying to build something together. So we think this process has been really helpful in surfacing many, many issues that need to be worked through. And as you heard me summarize, those 2 key next steps, 2 and 3 in the agenda, seem to be the imminent top priorities that will be a focus in the first quarter of 2026. If any of you have reactions about prioritizing those 2 or additional thoughts about what the next steps look like, let us know. And we will come back to this much bigger forum once a bit more work has been done. And that will be the opportunity to share this proposal with more of the details about what this could look like. And it will also be the opportunity to start to have bilateral conversations about how the pieces of this future infrastructure that you're involved in could become part of it, could benefit from it, could complement it. So thank you all. Again, we know it's very, very difficult work. It can be very stressful, but we're really trying to work with all of you to build a better future where we can give that timely demand-driven evidence support and have much bigger impacts on people's lives when we work together. So thank you for joining us. We'll be in touch by email, and we'll be in touch with many, many of you through bilateral conversations. So have a good rest of the day, and for our Australian friends, get some sleep. Thank you, and thank you to our facilitators.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.